Welcome to the Virtual Shakeup, brought to you by Brella, H2K Partners, Slido, and us, Event.video. We've got a fantastic lineup of speakers from around the world, but let's start with you, the audience. Why don't you tell us, using the poll on the right-hand side of your screen, where in the world are you joining us from? And whilst you're doing that, let's go to Helsinki. It's been 5 months since we ran the first Virtual Shakeup. So Jyrki, what's changed?
What hasn't changed, I think, is the question. In the broader terms, I think we've definitely now come out of the shock state by now on all sides of the table. Us as the vendor, but also on the organizer's side. I think around June, there was still a lot of speculation in the air regarding virtual events. Is it a fad and will it stay? And I feel like at least the virtual component will be there for good, and it makes sense for us to see how good can we make that experience. Overall, I think the industry has fought back so well. So many businesses have been able to transform their core to something entirely new, and I think it's just amazing to see how many businesses we have been able to help along the way.
Well, I'll bring Heather back in. So Heather, you were the host of the first Shakeup, and I know you've been working really hard with a lot of your clients, particularly on sales and sales acceleration, understanding the virtual world. What are your customers saying to you? What's changed?
I think, again, to say what Jyrki said is what hasn't changed, but I think when we came together at the end of June, I think there was a lot of hope that events would kick back in. People were rescheduling for August, September, October, December, and that actually has not materialized. So that's part one. With that said, I think that people are realizing that the structural impact on the event business as a whole, the business model, has fundamentally changed and it's not going back. And what I mean by that is virtual is here to stay. It may be even when in real life comes back, you'll still be doing virtual, because it's not about when we're allowed to do in person. It is when our customers are willing to do in person.
Well, certainly that's what we're seeing as well. I mean, a lot of interest. I think it's some of the topics that you're going to cover on the agenda. I'm just looking through here, things like event tech, everything you need to know about running and engaging online events. What are you excited about for this event, Heather?
Well, one of the angles we took with Virtual Shakeup 2, due to the fact that digital is going to have such a profound impact on the event business model, is we brought in some leaders from the media space. So one of our opening keynote fireside chats is Christine Shaw, who's the CEO of Investment News. She's going to talk with us about how she was able to rapidly pivot her organization, they do events, but leverage their digital platforms, upskilling, and being able to retain their entire team. We'll also have Stefan Forcé come on board with a presentation, and what this business transformation what does it mean for 2021 and beyond as it relates to your technology, your data, and what are you as a business? And who needs to be at the table when you're having these discussions of that tech stack moving forward. We'll talk to Bo Bruskin from Lendit, the CEO of Lendit, about how he was able to actually take a very high ticket event with about 4,000 attendees, average ticket price $2,000, and then move it to virtual and still be able to command $600 per ticket, as well as retain major sponsors.
I think that's actually really interesting. So a virtual event doesn't have to be free, is what you're saying straight away. On my side, I'm also lucky enough to have an amazing panel talking about hybrids. I think there's been a lot of interest on how do you do that? What does hybrid even mean? Is that just a media studio? Is it an event, as you said, like we used to do, the normal kind of event? But with people remotely, and how do they interact? And that neatly brings me back to you, Jyrki. So what are you seeing for the future for Brella? What are customers asking you for, and kind of things that you're thinking about at Brella?
Well, definitely what we're hearing from the customer is that the economic side of hosting events has changed quite a lot. There seems to be more and more need for concrete features that would be able to help monetize virtual events. The user now is quite different. There's a different set of needs from the attendee and sponsor in regards of what needs to be there in the virtual component of an event, and we're just going to keep on innovating in that space. I think it's really great about this scenario that there's not really any companies that have been able to define this space yet, or what it will become, and there's just so much still to innovate and create value in.
Well, I know that there's a lot of interest in this space. I mean, if you were around in June and you've seen some of the investment and the deals that have been done since then, I mean, this is kind of the white hot area, isn't it, right now? I mean, you're being a bit modest, I think.
Yeah, it's a blank page. Of course, it must be interesting for any tech company being in this space where you're able to create something from scratch and create this space and be able to be a part of that movement going into next year. It's just amazing.
And tell us a little bit about people who use Brella as well. I mean, are you just focused on Europe? Are you global? Like, who's using Brella?
Well, we're actually active in over 60 markets at the moment. Of course, we've always had a very strong US foothold since our birth. So we're going to be focused on, of course, the big markets that are out there in regards of event production, so UK and US. But let's not also forget the other countries in EMEA where we're also strong in. So I think that the approach is always quite global in a sense. The business needs they don't really change that much as we're catering to the bigger organizers in the US. It also feeds then down to the other players in the other markets.
And for those people that are new to Brella, tell us what your kind of sweet spots are. I mean, particularly this AI-based networking that people can try out at this event.
Yeah, of course, our USPs has always been around those networking capabilities, and we still feel pride about being sort of the pioneer in regards of intent-based matchmaking globally, and that's how we entered the space. And of course, today we're so much more than just that, but it does feed into our core capabilities as we are from that live event world, and networking has always been the core of that. So I think in the virtual world, let's not forget on what creates an event, and that comes out of the factors of content and connections. And if we're only feeding to 50% of that, we can't really call it a great event, in my opinion.
Well, that's probably a good opportunity for me to ask Heather, the expert about events. What does make a good event, Heather, especially now?
Well, I think that I always used to say content's king. It's still king, but I think what has transpired is people are really exhausted to sit in front of a screen all day long. So I think that what is trumping content to a certain degree is the networking, is how are you curating one-to-one, one-to-few, many-to-many types of interactions, everything from what I call the curated meetings, i.e. pre-scheduled, you're connecting buy side and sell side to connecting attendees for all different types of reasons. One of the things about Brella that I love is the intent. So is it about job seeking? Is it about investment? Is it about purchasing or looking to sell things, making it really known? But also trying to incorporate, you're never going to replicate in person. Like, you just can't, right? You're not going to replicate the brushing up against somebody at the bar, getting a drink or whatever, and those casual types of conversations. You can get somewhere close. So what is the creativity in terms of those types of networking events? Something I try very hard to talk to our clients about. So I think that networking, people are desperate for it. They want to do it. No one's going to live right now. And then your content clearly has to be, really on point, really deep into the industries you're covering, and you need to have some domain expertise.
All great points. Well, let's talk about how this event is going to work. So you'll see now that you're logged into Brella, that Brella's made some recommendations about people that you should network with. Those are based on your interests and things that you've ticked. If you've arranged a meeting, you'll see it on the top right of your screen. You'll see a little icon that looks like two speech bubbles. That's where you'll find out about the meetings that you've arranged or requests. If you have had a meeting request, can I just put a plea in? Please do keep your meeting. And if you are worried that somebody isn't going to turn up, my top tip for you is just to type in the chat to that person, are you ready for your meeting? It does wonders for converting those meetings into real video calls. So you can talk one-on-one with your peers. We've got some breaks during the agenda as well to give you a bit more time. And also look out for the Real Event Producer, which is a series we've been putting together with our clients. So you're going to see some short videos between these sessions from real event producers about how they've moved to virtual, challenges, success, things that they're thinking about. Heather, I just want to ask you a couple of things. I've never seen one of my employees so excited as when he saw Corbin Ball on the agenda. So just tell us a little bit about Corbin.
Corbin, I want to say, is one of the first people that came out many, many years ago talking about event tech. I want to say early 90s, mid 90s. And he was an event professional, saw what was happening, and then launched his own company. And he is a prolific speaker. And he, and I have to say thank you to Corbin. I mean, he really was generous in offering to share his knowledge with the Brella, with the Virtual Shakeup audience, as a favor. So really, really excited to have him.
Well, there's some fantastic speakers that we're looking forward to. Jyrki, what can we look forward to in, I guess, the next quarter, the next 90 days, to use a bit of agile terminology? What's up with Brella? What's coming?
Well, one thing I can guarantee is we'll definitely need to keep on innovating, and we're going to be doing so. The event season will go on a pause. There's not a lot of events going on through the Christmas period, going into the holidays in early January. So that fact doesn't apply to product development in the sense of our end, and we're going to keep on striving to create something really interesting for the next quarter of going into 21. And I think it's an amazing opportunity for us all.
I'm excited for this agenda, so please stick around for the first session, which is coming up, and that's going to be the multi-platform media company undergoes rapid transformation to the new normal. So it's Christine Shaw, CEO of Investment News. And Heather, just tell us a little bit about Christine Shaw. What are you going to be discussing in that session?
First of all, Christine Shaw is an exceptional female leader in the media and event space. So I was just super excited that when she accepted our invitation to speak. She's been the CEO of Investment News for about a year and a half. She was there, I want to say, about 8 months when the pandemic kicked in. And because of her skills in leadership, she was able to rapidly pivot. And they do a lot of events, everything from small awards to large conferences. They actually pivoted their, I think they had an April event that was supposed to be in person, and in less than 2 months moved it to virtual. Having said that, I think the things that we're going to dive into with this session is, one, how is she, her focused on upskilling her team. She made that decision right away, and she's not only been able to retain her full event team, as I mentioned earlier, but they've literally been able to change their business with this rapid upskilling and investment. Two, could dive into how they were one of the most important things that I see as a miss is not upskilling and training your sponsors. That you go to virtual, it's a very different ROI and engagement, and how she did that and how that yielded not only great returns with his existing sponsors, but they were actually also able to secure Salesforce as a spot. They had not been able to do that before. and Salesforce has raved about how great the experience is. So we're going to dive into a lot of those really amazing points.
Well, looking forward to it. Thank you very much, Jyrki and Heather. Don't forget, if you do want to speak to either Brella or H2K partners, you can do that through the amazing platform that is Brella. And we'll get on to the next session. Thank you, guys.